Well, welcome everybody. It's Andrew Scott here from IAG, and we're lucky to once again have Mr. Sue Kim, Chairman of Bally's Corporation. And Sue, we've got to stop meeting like this. It's always in an airport lately.
Well, I spend a lot of time on the road, so it might be this might be becoming a habit.
It might be. Are you in Las Vegas at the moment?
I'm actually in LA, flying back home.
Okay, back to the East Coast.
I was in Vegas earlier today.
Earlier today, very good. Well, congratulations are in order. Congratulations on reaching this deal with Star.
Thank
300. Yes, you're most welcome. 300 million, 56%. Of course, there are a few hoops to jump through, but it's essentially a done deal. The term sheet is public, been lodged with the ASX. First question, had you been in talks with Star all along, or were you largely sidelined while they were doing their Salter Brothers refinancing attempts, and they only came back to you once that option had gone?
It was actually more the latter. It was more the latter for sure. We had reached out to them, I want to say, close to a month ago, in writing, and there was actually very little engagement for quite some time. It was only about a week ago where we finally got some, we actually got some engagement. So yeah, no, the deal actually came together very, very quickly on the public framework that we laid out.
Sure. That's interesting. They seem to be doing things in. They seemed to be doing things in parallel. In sequence rather than in parallel. So that's probably when you're running that short of money, it's probably not a good idea. Hey, there's some confusion around the Brisbane situation. Is the Star's previous agreement with the Hong Kong partners, Chow Tai Fook and Far East Consortium, is that still standing? Is Brisbane part of this deal?
Well, look, I mean, we acknowledge that the company has signed an agreement, and I believe that they're still in the process of going to long form on that. Look, what I would tell you is we're just getting a handle on the entire situation, and so look, we're prepared to. What I would say is, I think being prepared is the right attitude, because in the end, lots of agreements that the company has signed haven't necessarily come through. So, look, obviously, we're prepared to manage all of the assets as one group, and we're also prepared if the company does succeed in selling it, then just focusing on the two that remain.
Sure. So it sounds like you're good either way. Look, this is a company that I went back and did some math. February 2018 was the high point of the shares, $5.73 Aussie, multiplied by the shares on issue, gave it a market cap of 4.7 billion Australian dollars at that time. And your offer values the company, well, it's a little bit tricky because you've actually got some debt in there as well, but your offer probably values the company at anywhere between arguably 350 to 600 million, depending on how you look at it. That's a bargain in anyone's language, but it's also indicative of the trouble Star's had. How do you feel about this? Is this a good investment for Bally's? What's your long-term vision for Star? How do you feel about the acquisition?
Well, I mean, hopefully, I've always lived by the attitude that you buy your book every morning. Now, this is only one more morning since we've signed the deal, and we feel just as good about it today as we did yesterday. So we're excited to ultimately get through. Remember, this signing of the deal is just one part of it. We still need to get through licensing and get to the shareholder vote, and then when we're all done with that, then we actually can get into the quote unquote fun stuff, which is to really help change the way this asset is managed, and hopefully allow it to achieve the operational performance that we know it can. So yeah, no, we're really excited about applying our like long track record of turning around gaming facilities to this particular set of assets. So I'm just excited again today as I was yesterday.
Well, I've had a lot of emails this morning. My morning, your evening over there. Does Mr. Kim know what he's in for when it comes to the government and the regulation and all the rules that around surrounding casino gambling in Australia now? I mean, all of that has been part of the reason that the property has deteriorated so much in value, and it's caused a lot of problems for Crown, for Sydney. I mean, how do you feel about that stuff, and how cognizant are you of all that? Because everybody seems to be saying, "Wow, he doesn't know what he's in for," but you seem to have a different attitude.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've always taken the attitude that gaming and regulations go hand in hand. They are not. Obviously, gaming without regulations would be illegal. So, we believe that the regulatory structures are to be embraced. I mean, obviously, these, and really the end goal, which is, ultimately, I don't know, just to use in layman's term, like good, clean fun, right? This should be a good, clean fun. And, that means that you do have to be mindful of knowing your client and making sure that, you have great practices when it comes to, anti-money laundering, but also, make sure that you take all the steps that you can to reduce gaming harms, affordability, responsible gaming, all of the very important policy objectives for gaming regulations, so that it truly is sustainable. It's good entertainment. It's obviously important non-tax revenue partners for states. So look, there's so much to it. We've always embraced regulations as a good thing. And what I would just say is this relates specifically to Star. I mean, we are just getting familiar with all the changes that the company has made over the recent months and quarters. And what I would say is, look, what we will do is we look forward to having a good dialogue with the regulators, and again, with the attitude that we are completely aligned to the policy objectives. Look, just in the same way as the rules have changed. Sorry about that. Sorry about the background noise.
No, yeah, you're good. I can't hear it this end. No problem.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
going.
You can't say. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, no. So to the extent that the rules have changed, in recent history, look, what we would say is, look, I think if we understand the gaming regulators' objectives and we work closely with them, we have all the confidence in the world that if there are evolutions that need to be made, that we look forward to having that conversation with the regulators. And again, what I would just say is we generally share the same policy objectives. So, it's not, if people are saying, well, is there too much regulation? Really, it's not really the way we look at the world. The way we look at it is, let's try to understand what the regulators' policy objectives are, and it behooves us to try to achieve them. Like, look, if there are certain, evolutions to the way the rules are applied today that can improve results, accomplish the same policy objectives, but actually do so in a much better way for all parties. Yeah, I think that, I'm sure that we'll have an opportunity to discuss those.
So it's April the 8th here. I think the evening of April the 7th there. This will go to air on April the 9th. As we sit here at this time, how many days, how many weeks, how many months is it going to be before you're in control? You've got a board in there that you want. You've got a CEO that you've appointed. You're actually running the show. And when you do that, what are your first changes that you're looking to make?
Yeah, I think that we have a sort of an estimate of somewhere between 60 and 90 days for the shareholder vote to occur. And, obviously we don't know, how long the regulators will go through probity. We have started the process. So look, it could be it could be done in that same period of time, and it could take longer, right? So, look, obviously, as part of the deal, we've structured it so that the company has enough liquidity to get us to the point where we actually take control. And then at that point, look, we're very excited to again, reflect what we think the changes that need to be made, to actually make them. And so, look, the soonest that can happen is sometime, let's say 90 days from today. Look, obviously, if the suns and the moons and stars align and it was able to be done faster, that's even better. Look, we're going to use dependency of regulatory approval and shareholder approval to try to understand the business and come up with what we think is essentially a day one action plan when we come into the office. So, I think that 60 to 90 days will be spent actually planning for, what changes we need to make, operationally to personnel, to make sure that, the STAR as we knew it has changed and maybe is over, but the STAR that will face the future will be even better and stronger.
So you mentioned liquidity. The deal was structured that they got $100 million straight away, or by April the 9th. That is damn quick, 48 hours. That says to me that they were running on fumes. Is there any way you can reveal to us how close they got to the wire? It feels from an outside point of view that they got down to almost nothing in the bank account and were quite desperate from a liquidity point of view.
We don't know. We don't know yet. I think I'll have a better sense. We'll have a better sense when we do go in and sit with the management team and start to pick through the accounts from a very different perspective. We've looked at it really much more from the public side, and now we actually have the contractual ability to be board observers. So now we have the ability to look at the company as a director would, and really get a sense of what's really happening. So we don't know. Again, we only know what we're told, which is that there seem to be pretty severe time constraints, and we're willing to work within the very short timelines given to us.
The government clearly wants STAR to just sort of go away. I think that's pretty obvious that STAR's been on the nose for a long, long time now, particularly in New South Wales. 60 to 90 days, so you're talking June or July. Are we looking at a name change here? Is it going to be Bally Sydney, or are we going to stick with the STAR? Or don't we know yet?
I don't know yet. Yeah, I would say I don't know yet. Look, I understand. We've heard that sort of sentiment, maybe even felt that sentiment from a number of people. And so I do think it's important to sort of draw a line that this is a change. This is a change of control. That this is that this process really again brings to an end everything that was, the practices that was, like the focuses that were. But look, we see an amazing future ahead. We've got fantastic assets in an even more fantastic market setting. Look, there's no reason why these assets can't sing with the right level of attention and care. So yeah, the new STAR, which is what I call it for now, will be brighter than the STAR in the past. Because I do think that it is important to draw a line. I mean, obviously, even today, the special master is in charge. So the current management and board are not actually running the company. So look, that is a very much an extraordinary remedy for an extraordinary set of circumstances, and we need to bring regular wage into the situation.
Well, speaking of Nicholas Weeks, the special manager, have you had any conversations with him, or have you been in a position to be able to do that, or perhaps you haven't been able to do that, right?
We haven't. No, we haven't. I mean, we had no standing or position to do so.
Right.
I mean, obviously, from our public position, we're able to speak to a number of the lenders, a number of the equity holders, employees, and and regulators, but no, we were not able to speak with the special master. So we look forward to, again, if there's so many people that we have to meet now. I'm hoping to make a trip down under, as they say, over the coming weeks, and really, meet all the people I know I have to meet, and I'm sure there's lots of people that I don't even know that I have to meet yet, and there's just going to be a lot of building familiarity and starting relationships in person. So we look forward to that.
Yes, it's easy to deal with what you know you don't know. It's what you don't know is often the problem.
That's exactly right. It's the unknown unknowns that can get you. So we are going to have to keep peeling the onion back and seeing what's there. But look, we know. Look, the bad and good news is actually the same. It's the two sides to the same coin. There are no casinos of this kind of scale and size that operate at essentially zero margin. So we're going to have to get to the bottom of that. And look, we know what casinos should do. We know what kind of revenue metrics they should do, what kind of margin metrics they should do. So we have sort of a very much an overarching top-down view as to what kind of performance we expect here. But again, we need to see how it all adds up in real life, and that's going to be. I'm sure we're going to find some unpleasant truths. But again, the thing about that is, look, our journey is to find them, right? Because look, it's very interesting. When you know what the problems are, then you should be happy, because then you know what to fix, right? The real issue,
right?
So, for example, if you were to go into a situation, you can't really explain the results, and you don't know what the problems are, And look, even in our short journeys through the properties, we did see many issues, and so I'm sure from this new perspective and spending more time at it, I think we're going to find many more. And every time I find an issue, I'm very happy, very happy, because again, it may not be.
I think we're both. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it may not be good for the situation right as we speak, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It means it's an opportunity to fix.
I think we're both channeling former Vice President Cheney there with the unknown unknowns. And I think you're going to find.
I'm not.
I think it was. I think you're going to find a lot of consultants and a lot of high salaries, executive salaries in that P&L. But anyway, that's your business to find out. Hey, Bruce Mathieson, what sort of role does he play?
Yeah, that's really important. Sorry, it's funny you say that. Remember the most important thing that we are doing, actually. We are bringing an owner-operator mentality back to this company. And, I think it's funny you say that. Obviously, we observe that, in the what I call the old Star, which is still the current Star, there isn't really a lot of equity ownership, whether it's at the management company, or at the management team, or the board. And look, we are quite consciously taking, to the majority or plurality of the shares, and so we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're obviously have a plan, but we're also willing to fund it. And again, we want to align ourselves with every other equity holder and show them that, hey, look, you can come with us, but we're going to lead from the front. And I think that owner operator mentality is just a really good framework, because we don't, I think you talked about all these, people that don't actually have a stake in the company, and yet are maybe collecting some salaries or charging expenses and whatnot. And I think we're going to hopefully as we get into the business, we come to it that, hey, we only make money at the end. After obviously this
owner operator mentality.
Exactly. So after
I think that mentality has been sadly lacking.
Yeah, the employees, everyone's got to, all the suppliers, everyone's got to get paid first, and then we take what's remained. So that means we are the most motivated to make sure that that something remains. And so
exactly.
we look forward to that challenge. Sorry, you were about to say. I cut you off.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think that owner-operator mentality was is sadly lacking, and I think that'll be a really good thing for Star. I just mentioned, I know you got a flight to catch, but just quickly, Bruce Mathieson,
Yes.
there's facility for him to put 100 million in potentially according to that term sheet. Where does he sit with all this?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Look, I mean, again, Bruce is currently the largest shareholder, and he's been, I would say, almost a long-suffering shareholder for quite some time. It was, when we spoke to him, we, we actually had dinner with him when we first went to Australia uh, in February, and we described to him that, hey, look, here's our bona fides, here's what we want to do. And he said right from the start, hey, I would love an opportunity to, if you do succeed, I would love an opportunity to work with you. And so, look, like he is the quintessential man of his word, and we're looking forward to working with him. Obviously, he and his team have huge amounts of experience in the gaming business in Australia. So in the pubs and clubs, and so I think we have a lot to learn from him, and hopefully we can bring some new perspectives as well. So we're looking forward to building on that relationship. We're honored that he is ultimately taking up a third of the subscription. So again, we're going to be partners, and we're both putting our money where our mouth is.
I noticed the board have said that they will now be in a position to lodge their financial accounts for the 6 months to 31st of December last year. So that'll be interesting for us all to see when we see those accounts. Obviously, you need some more granular detail at the board level to understand what's going on past those accounts. Just last question. I know you got to jump on the plane. I noticed there was some debt in there as well as some equity. Does that mean that you're really only putting in 233 million rather than 300 million in terms of equity?
No. Yeah. That's a great question. No. So we are not allowed to have equity or any securities that convert into equities more than currently 9.9%, because that's before we get, I think, both probity and shareholding approval. And then, when we finally get both, then we can obviously convert all of our shares north of the 10 and 20% hurdles, all the way up to the 51. This is just we had to take a subordinated piece of paper, which is behind the current debt, but again, that actually technically ahead of the current equity holder, because we weren't allowed to take equity. So not until we get through the shareholder vote. So right now we have a portion of our money does have come in the form of a convertible, and the other comes in the form of a straight note that is not convertible.
Right. So that 233 million must have been the maximum you could put in. The full intention is the other 66 goes to equity in due course when you get shareholder approval. And I note that gets you 56%, not 50%. So a little bit more. You upped it to 300 million, but you also got 56% rather than 50%. So congratulations.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, and just so you know, our original offer was for 250. And the company just said they needed more money, so we reacted to that. And
excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I better let you catch that plane. Don't miss it. And thank you. And look, and Sue, one of the things. Look, thank you so much for speaking to the audience of IAG, to our community. The fact that you make yourself so available is a really, really good thing. There hasn't been enough of that in the Australian casino industry. So I would encourage you to keep doing that and keep talking to people, because you're a likable guy. And we wish you well. We really do wish you well. I hope you do well, and I hope you can turn Star around.
Well, thank you very much, and hopefully. Look, we're optimistic, and but we'll just point out that it should, and we've been told as well from the company that they are ready to present the accounts, which would then allow the shares to potentially start trading again, and look, I think it's an opportunity, ultimately for folks to the ones that are there are gonna participate. Hopefully in what we have to do. So look, we're looking forward to partnering with many shareholders. Look, this is something that we understand is a responsibility, and we look forward to it. So, okay, it's a public company now, so I know it's suspended from trading, but it is a public company, and we don't have any plans to not make it so. So I'm happy to speak with you always, and with any shareholder as well.
Well, 90% of the value of this company has been obliterated from its peak. So if you can help to build some back for some of the existing shareholders, they're going to love you for it.
All you need is a chip in the chair, as they say. So you could start from very little as long as you're still in the game. So, okay.
All right. So good. Have a safe flight, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
So there you have it, our discussion with Sue Kim, chairman of Bally's. We caught him again at the airport, and very willing to speak to us and to speak to the IAG community, which is great. I think we need more of that in Australia. And let's hope he can, for the sake of the industry and for the sake of Star, let's hope the government gives him a break as a new participant that wasn't involved in any way, shape or form in the sins of the past. And let's hope he can turn things around and build a good Star and get some of that, as I said before, some of that value back for the shareholders. Well, that's it for IAG for now, and we will speak to you again soon. Bye for now.